I'm not sure. I just feel like with the Corki taken off the table, it will give a lot of space over to a lot of picks for Sheko Lad. I feel like no surprise to see a Gangplank for Melonic as well. I feel like Gangplank is such a highly contested pick as well, especially you could take it blind a lot of the time as well. Like I think more and more so, it's really just an S tier pick that you can sort of just take into any matchup. I'm expecting to maybe see an Azir later down into the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if they take it on this first 3 rotation with that Corki being taken off the table as well, but also a jungler as well, I would imagine.
Good pickup, good pickup. Yeah, and Milonic, of course, don't forget about his GP performance. Once again, one of his best champions that he's got in the repertoire. Playing a Karma when they were winning as well. They were kind of just playing a game where it was all about facilitating Fire in the jungle. And I think it's a way for them to bridge teamwork easier in the sense that you have to push in mid and roam around in the jungle. You have to look for plays all the time. And on a champion like Karma, well, obviously it's flexible. I do suspect it going into the mid lane for Peng. Now gets picked up as well. That's still a favorable matchup with GP. Don't think they're going to be too unhappy about that one. And surely just the jungler is going to come through now for Akabane, which is going to be the Viego.
Yeah, completely. And I think going forward for GameWard, you probably want to take a few more of these AD carry options off the table, maybe. Z-Core, obviously, with the Karma, you can imagine. For me, Karma, if it is, well, like you said, actually, it could be going to the mid lane. But if you're going to be talking about some of these bot lanes, maybe taking away some of the picks that Z-Core has been, showing a lot of comfort on because he doesn't have the expansive champion pool that I think quite that Inax does.
So I also think now going into the second ban phase, right? You also have that worry that both of them right now needs to ban away either supports or AD carries. Yeah. The problem that Oplon has right now is that they're picking later. So whatever they decide to pick, they're kind of banning some of their own champions as well, right? So while Inax haven't picked anything yet and they're banning away some of those champions, Seiko at the same time is banning away his champion pool. And actually was really curious to see the fact that, it's Inax himself banning that Ezreal and not the other way around, because I was sure that we were going to see something like that.
Yeah, I would probably expect to see another ban. If it's not going to be support, maybe Kai'Sa in the AD carry position. I feel like for Z-Core wouldn't be too bad here. Ashe, interesting enough. A champion I feel like is criminally underutilized, even as a support even in the support position as well.
I wonder what we're looking for here for Inax. Senna, obviously still a champion that's up, but it doesn't give you too much to play for, at least in the Senna, right? But it does give you other options to play for if that's what we're looking for. And I do believe in the past it's something Inax has relied on, but even just on other champions like Aphelios could still be an option for Inax if they want to look for something like that. Yeah. We very well know him that it's comfort, and if you remember back a couple of years ago in the LEC, well, it was Inax specifically who had that disgusting 200 clip with Aphelios all the way back then. But I think Senna Aphelios, probably the two bets we're looking at.
He actually hasn't played it this season yet, or this split rather.
Not been in the best state either in terms of like having other AD carries that kind of facilitated it better.
I was going to say Lucian, another champion he's played here.
Obviously a champion that's been through some patches now, been nerfed a little bit. But still either way can give you that bot lane priority. And I think the most important part for GameWard here is the fact that they have support counter pick. And for Oplon now, they're going to have to fish a little bit in terms of what champions they play, because there's not too many safe champions left. Ezreal out of the way, Misfortune out of the way. Saya with that ultimate, self-peel out of the way too. And yeah, okay, there we have it. I completely forgot about this one. Seri up and available all the time. And a Mumu in the support role as well. This is something we've seen in some of the more major Asian regions. Not seen too much of it just yet.
Speaking of fishing.
Oh, there we have it. Nami could come through as well. And honestly, it wouldn't be too bad of a lane. A Mumu support is something we saw a lot heading into Worlds last year. Especially play-ins where everyone thought it was going to be the best thing ever. Unfortunately, it wasn't. So I'm going to be curious to see how this one's going to pan out, because it's, of course, a team fight composition we're getting from Oplon's side. And on the side of GameWard, I think they have more to play through in terms of their range. They have in the Azir, they have a cannon barrage if they want to play the map a little more. But in the end, they're going to be playing for that bot side. Having the Lucian Nami, it's a lane you need to get ahead.
There's a new song out for that champion, Gulborg.
Which champion?
A Mumu Grande, No Tears Left to Cry.
I don't know what to say. I will say that one of their Mumu songs was one of the first musical cinematics I remember watching as well from Riot Games.
And I've ruined it for you. No worries.
Wait. And Mumu Grande, surely that was, if Annie was picked, you could go for Anna Grande or something like that.
I do apologise, but anyway, let's talk more about concrete things that we can see in front of us. I feel like pretty telegraphed draft from GameWard in the sense of even I was able to predict some of the things that we're going to be picking. I feel like a lot of comfort, obviously, is here for Sheko Lad. We've seen him play it multiple times, had a lot of very impressive performances. How do these comps kind of interact with each other, though?
Well, it's going to be interesting. I feel like we can throw up the head-to-head real quick, and then we can move in towards the broader aspect once we go into the game as well.
Yeah.
And once we finally get to that point, we'll have it. I think a lot of it, of course, is going to be dictated by some of the junglers. Having Schönfire in the Wukong, we just talked about it earlier. He was one of these players that was facilitated by the Karma in the mid lane. And over on the opposite side, Akabane once again a vehicle. We see it so many times. Low damage per minute, but it's all about that kill participation, the jungle percentage. Like, both these junglers want the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Schönfire, not coming off to the best performance in the first couple of weeks, but then that standout Olaf performance against Karmankov, I think, is really what cemented and really what justified kind of his, appearance in this league. I feel like a lot of the time, he's a player we've seen in NA be a very dominant jungler a lot of the time. He's got a very aggressive style, obviously coming over the pond now to play in the LFL, and kind of quite remiss in a lot of his performances. He's playing Volibear, just falling apart in the early game. He's obviously not playing on the best of fortunes in terms of the team and how they've been operating in terms of their wins and losses, but able to kind of show off a little bit more about himself in that Olaf game. And I feel like this could be another game where he maybe gets a chance to show a little bit more as well.
Well, we will see in just a minute as we will be heading into game after this promo video.
As we descend onto the Rift for our final game of the day, 2-9 versus 9-2, Oplon versus GameWard. It's going to be an uphill struggle, I believe, for Oplon in this game, GameWard.
It definitely is, and I mean, for a long time as well, it's been an uphill struggle. I think that's obviously a rough time to be a team up with Oplon, but I think they're doing their best and they're fighting their strides, they're fighting their moments. We saw that just last week. And they're coming through with something, a little bit of what worked from them last time, a little bit of new stuff as well. They keep it exciting, and at least, they keep on trying, which is a great sight to see from them.
Absolutely, and I feel like they're just a team that, although the laning phase might not necessarily go their favour a lot of the time, you can see some, just in general, a lot of dividends being created from that place. They've got a lot of ability to kind of find their way in some of these later game team fights. There's obviously some players who are very individually skilled. Might not have quite clicked on the general macro sense and coming together as a team. That's something we'll look to develop. Then for them to develop more so as we head towards the latter end of the split. But definitely some individual talents that can really shine if given the chance.
That's always the talking point, right? It's like, I think in a league like LFL, it's different in terms of like what the orgs are looking for. Of course, LFL is the best league you have in the European regional leagues, and because of that, a lot of people will compare it to LEC. They will look at the top level and say they should at least be able to match with the bottom level when you take a look at teams like LDLC. I think it's important to remember as well that we have our own developmental teams, development team as well, that are looking to just find solo queue prospect, as you're saying, looking for someone who's got mechanics, but can kind of mold them into better players through, solid foundations and coaching as well to set them up. Oplon, of course, one of these teams, in this instance, where GameWard, one of these teams that want to contest for the top.
Absolutely, and we spoke about it before, just so much faith being shown in this roster from spring. Obviously a team that finished just outside that playoffs, now pretty much all but guaranteed for playoffs, I think, with 9 wins. Coolborg.
It's usually the sweet spot, but not guaranteed
the sweet
just
spot,
yet.
But it's not quite guaranteed, but definitely in a good position with quite a few games to go. Definitely, you would expect them to pick up a couple more wins with how they've been playing.
I would agree with that statement. Both junglers right now mimicking their jungle pathing. They're going to be making their way down towards the bot side from the side of Akabane, up towards the top side for Schönfire. No surprises in Inex and Camellias having that bot lane priority. They are playing double range, and not only that, they're playing Lucian Nami. As a movementary, you cannot walk up. You're not really playing for laning phase, you're playing for out of lane afterwards. In the mid lane as well, it's going to be a constant battle for priority. Remember, for Peng, very important that he gets to move around the map with Schönfire, create skirmishing areas. Specifically if they can find their moments on scuttles and catch Akabane off guard. But once again, with the junglers kind of mimicking each other and going elsewhere on the map, I don't suspect we're going to see too much of it in the early game. But Camellias and Inex at least getting a ward for their troubles of moving up towards the mid lane.
Yeah, I can't imagine that going that way, like much like you're saying, as you see both junglers, as previously mentioned, centering their way towards the end of their full clear, getting that Rift Scuttle, obviously. Viego a little bit slower in that regard, but Twist off to the side here. I think might have just been spotted out by that minion there, but pretty slow game, I think it's fair to say so far.
Pings are coming out, and Inax and Emilius is in this lovely position you get into as a support and AD carry down towards the bot lane, which is, of course, when you crash on 3, the wave will bounce back, and now all of a sudden Seeker and Twist, they're forced to push forward into a lane they don't want to be in. And because of that, they can't trade. They're just automatically losing farm. They need someone to bail them out, but their jungler was on the top side, and Akabane has facilitated them with all the vision that they need. You take a look at the map right now on towards the bottom, River completely lit up. The jungle around the Raptors and Croc completely lit up. They can look for every trade. Oh my god.
And that's such a close queue. You can kind of somewhat understand why Twist might have gone for that, but bite off a little bit more than you can chew, and it's going to be, I mean, it's good for him to know that he would just got blown up there if the Ignite came down as well.
Still looking though. You can see they get aggressive. Twist not afraid. Remember, Inax does have that cleanse, so if Twist goes too far forward, he might actually just, not hookshot, but bandage toss himself into his own death. He should have the intel on Schönfire as well, on those Crocs being warded.
Definitely, and I feel like Oplon are going to do their due diligence here in terms of just getting this wave crashed in. It's what they needed to do. We spoke about that bounce back. We spoke about how much control was being granted over the side of GameWard. This is going to give a little bit of a reprieve thus far for Z-Core and Twist, who have had a little bit of a hard time of it in terms of some of the trades.
Yeah, but once again, really good map control. They spot now that Schönfire is going to be on the Raptors. That gives the queue up towards Melonic on the top side there. You know what, buddy? You keep playing aggressive up there. You don't have to worry about the opponent's jungler. Amumu still on the bot side, Peng on the mid lane. They have all the information they need right now to commit to plays. So, GameWard, it's not just about how they're playing the lanes. It's about how they're setting themselves up for success. Really coming through by playing the game by the book.
Absolutely, I think that's so important to kind of touch on. It's just that it's not necessarily the advantages you get now, it's the advantages you get minutes in advance. And so being able to track out and spot, just allowing the map to be pushed and pulled in the way that it needs to be, really quite beneficial for GameWard. And you can see it already. It's not much, but it's honest work. 300 gold lead for GameWard. You can imagine with some of these accrued advantages, for example, the flash in the bot lane, the fact that Melonic kind of isolate this matchup on the top side, you can only imagine that further going the way of GameWard in this early game.
Okay, so Inax haven't actually backed here, which could make it a bit awkward. Mid lane is pushed in by Peng, which means that if Schönfire moves down, they can look and try to disrupt this trade. Question is, will they be on time? 3 versus 2 here. 3 versus 3.
Schönfire has dissuaded the play somewhat, and GameWard, I think, understanding, much like you said, Gulborg, because of that mid prior, as well as the fact that Inax haven't backed, they're going to get their dragon of themselves. Good position from them. Good positional play for them to be able to move in here, bully out GameWard. But also good from GameWard to realize they don't need to take this fight.
Yeah, but I also think they're the one who started it up, and they didn't have to. I think they could for sure look for a better setup there. A little bit of a mishap there from GameWard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's just all in all a win from Oplon. They come in, they punish Twist now. He spots Akabane. Wave is being crashed. They might even look for a dive here. They know Wukong is moving up towards the top side.
I do know that.
They're just going to back up.
Yeah, I think it's good. Obviously, you see Akabane moving towards that buff area. Wukong's trying to make his way through mid lane. Twist, flash over the wall here. Didn't quite know where Akabane quite was. Glacial Augment. It's going to mean that he has to flash over the wall. Last second of stun. That's a really good route from Peng there. Gets us close to the wall, and Akabane a bit too over-aggressive. Burns his flash and gets the kill. Let's go the way of Z-Core, which is going to tally up the deficit a little bit more, acquiesce the lead that was been granted to Inax so far, and bring Z-Core a little bit closer to having an impact on this game.
I'm not getting hyped up by them yet, but Oplon, I mean, slowly but surely, they're trying to sell me their stocks, and I'm falling for it a little bit. They find some decent early games, I'm not gonna lie to you. Despite not having priors, they pick up the first Drake. Despite being the one being aggressed on, they pick up the first blood as well. And yes, you can argue it's because of them over-aggression coming through from Akabane. Either way, in this matchup where we said they should probably 100% be behind right now, they're not. And I think that's quite interesting with a team like Oplon who, you know, fighting to make it out of relegations.
Yeah, fighting to make out that relegation zone. But they've not been relegated to rest on their laurels so far, which I think is important, as you're saying, Gulborg. Really able to kind of capitalise, not be felled, not be pushed over by what is essentially quite a bully onslaught from Inax and Camillus in this bot lane. Bit of a bully lane traditionally. Also, the Azir versus Karma, I feel like until Karma gets that ability to kind of clear out these waves, it is going to be the case that Shekolad is able to find that. And you can see that in the CS differential. So I think Oplon being able to fight back is really big for them in terms of going forward into the 10, 15 minute mark.
I'm curious as to what Peng is looking for here, because he got two options. You're either going for the Imperial Mandate or you're going for the Moonstone Renewer. I can't see him go for the Shurelius. I feel like that's too overkill when you already have the shielding coming out. And honestly, having a Moonstone Renewer in a fight like this where you brawl quite a lot, when you have 3 pseudo frontliners in the Amumu, the Wukong, and the Na, wouldn't be all too bad. But I'm going to be curious to see what's going on there. I'm going to track that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely something that I think we need to keep our eyes peeled on, and GameWard will update us on it. As once we get to this level 6 mark, I feel like Twist and Z-Corp, would it be fair to say, GameWard, that they can actually try and contest a little bit of a 2v2 extended battle?
I actually don't think they win it out still because of the cleanse that Inex has. Like, when you use all of it, yeah, there's a lot of burst damage coming through, but Seri is one of these champions that needs to ramp up. And Lucian with an army with an execute here, I just think their damage will be more significant. But, of course, when Seiko finally starts getting some items coming through...
What about a 3v3?
Oh, that might be the one then. That might be the one with the setup.
That might be the golden ticket to the chocolate factory that Oplon are looking for.
But for now, still fine with scaling. Remember, you have the Azir. You have the Gangplank on top side as well. And crucially as well, if you overextend in the bot side, Dalek's not going to be able to do too much about it. But Melonic does have that cannon barrage, so obviously a different story in terms of how the two top laners can influence the map.
Yeah, absolutely. There, about a minute now until this Ocean Dragon, as we see both of the sets up. It's going to be Shekolad that gets this reset, which I think means that Peng is going to have to just be opting into crashing this wave. He will get priority for now, but it will be Shekolad coming onto the map with that mythic completed, and this could really turn the tides of favour, or the tides of war in the favour for GameWard.
Yeah, remember, Oplon though, they picked up the first Drake for themselves earlier. Melonic does have that teleport advantage, but no 14 minutes just yet. If he wants to join by the Drake, he'll have to TP to a turret. In terms of prioritization for this next Drake as well, take a look at the 280 carries. Currently, Inex has a mythic item, and I think that will just generally be the difference maker. You take a look at the mid lane as well. Shekolad picked up that Leandri's Torment too. I don't think Oplon can fight for this objective. I think they're too far behind in the item department.
Absolutely. You see both blue buffs being granted to both mid laners are going to mean even more push potential. Twist is off to the side here. Going to be pretty hard pressed. Obviously does have that flash, but when Shekolad has that flash as well and that Shurima shuffle, it's going to be so hard to kind of get that engage onto him. They're alerted to the presence of Viego here. It's really a prio battle at the moment, and who can get to these fights first. You can see all members are going to be available for this. Both teleports actually soon available.
Gale Force is on cooldown. I'm not sure what happened here, but now Inex doesn't actually have that. That could be a big difference maker.
It's going to be a pretty heavy contest here. Inex takes quite a lot of damage there from the Karma Mantra Q. And Shekolad's having to make a decision. Does he want the wave? Does he want to get a flank here? He's going to go for the wave, get that prior. It's a slow game that's being played by GameWard. So obviously the tempo has been set by Oplon.
Can't believe it. It looks like they're just going to get away with it. Yeah, next objective as well.
Good posturing. Really good posturing from Oplon. You can see Akabane might have something to say from it, but it's good positioning from Twist. Prevents him from getting in now. Now, just you got to walk out here. Just... Oh no, this could be bad here. Akabane finds the engage onto Twist, and you almost said that, you almost felt like saying, like, you know, the job's been completed, now the easy part comes, but they do find a kill. Obviously they get the dragon, but you would have liked them to walk out here scot-free.
Oh yeah, I mean, it looked good for them for a second there. Still very even from a gold point of view here, so getting that kill is not going to be the end of the world from Oplon, and considering the fact that, you know, they were at an item deficit, they had really good posturing around that. They found the movement on the bot lane first to set up for the Drake. And yeah, afterwards Akabane finds a good pickup on the members scattering away from the objective. I think we see good signs of life for both teams here, making this a healthy game.
Absolutely, and I feel like it's vital that they show these vital signs because they're so kind of premeditated and predetermined towards just finding these massive deficits where they have to work their way back from it. And you see in the late game a lot of times it's kind of an Oplon classic that's developed over the split, and you can call it over-aggression, you can call it like a team's lack of respect in the way that they're playing, but they do find these late game team fights where you suddenly it's the 40-minute mark, the 30-minute mark where you think, wait, Oplon's actually got a chance here, but more and more so as we see, Oplon are able to generate actual beneficial game states for themselves in the early game, and it's not something we would have ever dreamed of happening in the first opening weeks.
And actually, we might see more of it. You take a look at the items now being completed. It is going to be that Moonstone renewal we talked about. There's a Divine Thunder in the Wukong, and Seagull has finished up the Shield Bow. That's a lot of healing coming through in these team fights if they break out. And it's a lot of extended fighting we can expect, where it's actually going to be in favor of Oplon until we see some more healing reduction coming through from GameWard. So if rotation starts coming up towards the second Herald in about this 2-minute time before it spawns, it actually could, like, Oplon would be the one to get the priority around it and set up more preferably for a team fight as well. But Chocolate looking for Peng.
Chocolate into the Nami ult. It's a good job of flashing away there, Chocolate. Tries to find a little engage here. Couldn't quite get his hands on it. It's good. Oplon continue to avoid the aggression of GameWard.
But that's a point of attack now towards the next objectives. There's not a lot of, well, spells actually being utilized there from GameWard to make that play happen. It's just going to be the normal ultimate cooldown. But it's Peng's flash and teleport he no longer has access to. So he's going to be losing quite a bit of resources here. He's already down in the CS department too, Chocolate. 162 for the Asia 2, the 127 of the Karma. Of course, that matters. But for the Karma, it's not the end of the world. You are playing a support here. You have low econ items to finish up.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like your job more so going to be buffing up members. He's going to finally get spotted out here. With not really
that's
much
a good
response. Oh, Twist goes in with a lovely engage here. Camillus is going to have to flash away. Tries to find the other Q. That would have been a continued flank on the front. See, Shunfire had a little bit of a word to say with Chocolate there. Ultimate is burned, but no flash burned by Chocolate.
So what happens now? You get a bot lane pushed in. You have a Rift Herald that's spotted on the top side of the map, but they're looking. Look at this. They're so sneaky with their place. Are they respecting it?
Oh, yes, is the answer, Gulborg. It's a good little scrying orb there, or sweeper rather, from Twist that spots out that play. Had a little bit of a sneaking suspicion there. But Twist is doing a good job of finding these engages so far, and I feel like it bodes well for the next dragon, which will be the sole point for Oplon if they can find it.
Seeker, though, didn't really have the best recall timing there, and that means that he's going to be staying in lane to try and pick up the wave, but actually, crucially, stops the recall from Camillus. And normal times on a normal laning phase is not going to mean too much. Reason why it's super important now is because Rift Herald have spawned, and it's going to be the second one on the map, and both teams are going to be looking at that objective, trying to make their way up towards this. Chocolate's even taking a really good poking up towards here. They might just be forfeited to take this, or to give this rather, from the side of GameWard. Look at the minimap. Twist already moving up there. Chocolate doesn't have teleport, forced to back. Yeah, I don't think they can contest it.
Yeah, and I really like this from Oplon. I feel like just, whereas before we've seen them, despite getting into these positions, they don't put their full foot on the gas, so to speak, and I feel like they're really doing it here. They're just taking the advantages where they can find them, and they're the ones setting the tone on the game. They're not responding, and I like that. It's proactive gameplay. They're going to get the Rift Herald here, and I really feel like that's going to do favors for them in terms of, you know, you set that up in the mid lane, you get a little bit of priority with it. You can, you know, even give away this dragon because you build up this dragon kind of 2-stack here. You can even play towards the mid lane. See that teleport come out from Peng as well.
All right, quick update. Chocolate has bought healing reduction. That's at least going to matter a little bit in terms of shredding down the front line. Albeit, that's going to be a Rift Herald trying to get that pressure. I don't think it's going to do too much.
Oh, Shunfire gets taken out. Chocolate tries to find the inwards. Shurima shuffle there, but it is going to be Akabane that takes out. Twist off to the side there, and I was going to say it was kind of hard to get it out there. I'm not a massive fan of how they use this Rift Herald, to be honest. I feel like it was too far forward. You want to play with it. You want to drag GameWard away from the dragon. It felt like GameWard were never really in a position where the retention had to be away from the dragon, where they had to make a decision. You didn't make them choose here. And I feel like Oplon, with the way that their map had been set out here, they had the option, they had the benefit of just dragging and pulling, making GameWard make a decision, being proactive, and you let GameWard back in the driver's seat here, I feel like, if you're Oplon.
I agree. Now you give away the Drake, you give away some of the momentum you built. That yeah, it's only a cloud, but you know, you get away a kill, you get away a turret. Actually, no kill. I think they've all got out for free. But even then, it's now a 3k gold lead to GameWard out of nowhere in a game that was so competitive.
Absolutely, and it's really, you know, it's an element of Oplon's game that I feel like they haven't improved on. In the sense that I think definitely a key stock takeaways from them are their abilities to kind of traverse the early game, the first 10 to 15 minutes a lot better. It's not the car crash accidents that we've seen from them in a lot of these games before, but when it comes to holding on to leads, when it comes to kind of executing upon leads, still somewhat lackluster in that department, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, but I also think my expectations has already been subverted from the early game, that how I thought this game was going to go at least. Like, I think it's still very important to say that Oplon has been overperforming in the early game as to what we would usually see from them, but now going into the mid game, this is GameWard territory. This is where we want to see them accelerate and prove to us and the viewers and everyone else out there for themselves that this is why they're second place and this is why they're chasing first place too. Because they are incredibly scary with a lead. Whereas, you know, some of the teams we had kind of throws their leads away. I feel like GameWard, they hold on to them and they don't really drop them.
Yeah, GameWard don't really drop them. I feel like when they have lost, obviously to LDLC, and I believe it was Go as well, the Go game was more of a kind of a tightly contested affair that sort of went both ends of it, and LDLC was just, you know, it was just LDLC. Not really much more to say beyond that, Goldborg.
Yes.
But yeah, very much for the 9 wins they've got, they've been controlled, they've been kind of methodical games where I feel like just very key individual performers always shine ththrough. It's always Inax, it's always Shekel, and you can see that reflected in the kind of the shutdowns right now, strangely enough. These guys will just, they will pump out the damage, they will be the difference makers in a lot of these team fights.
Oh, 100%. There is still the team fighting tools in Oplon's combo, but they might even get to use them.
Z-Core flashes away, but it's a great engage from... Oh, God. Twist just continues to find these, and it's 2 kills for Oplon.
No way. 20 seconds before Drake as well. Drake has just... Or Baron, rather, has just spawned. I don't think you can go for it. There's still a cannon barrage to play into. This might be scary for Oplon.
This could be scary for Oplon. Melonic is going to be making his way up now through the mid lane. Cannon barrage does come out. Nami ult as well. Z-Core doesn't have a flash to play for. Shekolad does have that. Look at Shekolad here. With so much damage being done here, Shekolad really could tear this team fight open.
Oh no.
Cannon,
oh no. Melonic's coming from the bot side.
This is bad.
Oh no.
It's a good engage from Twist. It's a good engage from Twist. Cannon's in the bot lane. Cannon's in the Baron pit here. The Baron is going to go the way. Who's going to be able to make their way out of here is the question. Z-Core's gotten his way back to base now. Shekolad over the wall is going to find Dalek. He gets slammed into the wall though as well. And quite a lot of damage actually flashes into the face of Inax though, unfortunately. But Karma and Z-Core do manage to find their way back to base though.
Yeah, okay, all things considered, I mean, could have been way worse. They pick up a few kills, they get the Baron for themselves, which essentially, like, gold value is like getting an ace. So in that regard, still decent. And I think the members who did get away with that Baron buff was Z-Core because he respawned. Or just, actually, no, he stayed around. And then Peng, who flashed out of the pit to get away to safety with the Baron empowered recall. Honestly, Oplon, I can respect the lack of hesitation and, you know, the commitment they just have on that Baron.
Absolutely, and I feel like Twist, we really have to highlight him, is just finding such good engages. It might not quite be reflected in his scoreline, but there, a lot of that is just down to finding that immediate... I feel like the kind of the real refined nature of the engage position in terms of the support is just you have to know when to go. It's almost like second nature as your instinct kicks in, and Twist has been operating on such good instincts this game, and I feel like it's really paying such good dividends for Oplon, and they're highly contesting GameWard at 20 minutes here, who are our second best team in the league.
All eyes on Twist when these fights breaks out, but also Shekolad. He still has flash if he wants to engage on its fight with the Shurima shuffle, and now they're sieging this one.
Going off to the side, they're going to try and find a triple barrel. Twist has stopped that so wonderfully. Time and time again, he's doing such a wonderful job of just stopping any sort of player. Melonic has to flash away from that as well, and it's going to mean he can get tied up a little bit in these team fights as well if it goes forward. An important person to look at for GameWard now is Shekolad. Take a look at him on this. Is it?
That's a lot of damage.
Ready to go. Dalek goes in. Akabani's up against the wall now. Redemption. Twist is in! He's going to find the ultimate, but they take out Dalek. And Dalek has gone way too far there. Ease from Gangplank have done massive damage.
That's
to the
way
Oplon
too deep.
Front line.
Just way too deep from Dalek. Not being able to be followed up there. Twist, he sees the highlight play. He sees multiple people getting hit by CC2, but you have to think it's so close for Oplon, but they just fumble with the ball a little bit and they miss the shot.
Absolutely. Not able to gain the 3-pointer there. Staring down. The 4th dragon of the game now does go the way of GameWard, and you feel like almost the game is very much in their favour now. Whereas Oplon were able to get that early aggression, get those early dragons out. Oplon, they're taking their chances when they get them, but they're very much, it's a characteristic mistake. It's an individual mistake. It's Dalek going a bit too far in, and a fight that was very good. We saw Twist previously to that was able to stabilize the kind of position they were in, get Melonic out from that team fight, and unfortunately, it is just slightly too far forward now. And you feel like time is aching down towards the point where Shekolad and Linax are just going to have so much damage now.
Yeah, and I mean, they had options as well, right? The Drake was spawning in just 17 seconds when they went in. You go to that Drake, you wait for your opponent to come into you. You have way more space to play around with this fight, but you don't have to walk into a Seer turret. Peng walking into a Seer himself now.
Shekolad might not have been able to find Peng quite, actually. Speaking of the devil. Never mind, that is Shekolad that is able to take out Leandrews. I thought to be fair, if Peng kept walking, but he would have just walked into Melonic to be fair, so it wouldn't have made too much of a difference. Twist tries to find something. Teleport does come out. Zeeko's over the wall here, trying to ramp up, find a little bit of speed here.
Dalek looking as well, not finding anything.
Melonic is just committed towards the sideline. He's done so much here, gets that down, teleports out.
Okay.
Gonna pick himself up a bot wave as well.
Well, there we have that. He's going to be able to get out of that, but no teleport for a potential Baron if it were to be spawned up. I mean, the thing is, it's even though we're 25 minutes into the game, 26 when it spawned, still decently early Baron. I just consider it later because of how fast the other one was taken. It was exactly 20 minutes into the game, so they can still wait around with that teleport timer. Melonic still in full control of the side lane, so he should just be able to walk up if they needed him as well, but now it's going to be a battle of control of the map. It's going to be a battle in terms of taking the scuttlecrafts, the jungle camps, vision control around next Baron or Drake. That's what we're looking at here. It's going to be the war of attrition on the Summoner's Rift.
Definitely a war of attrition. Definitely a war of... well, it's a game of tug of war this so far, but definitely the case that GameWard are pulling that rope further and further towards their home camp. Staring down a 3k gold lead now at this point. Oplon quite hard pressed, I think it's fair to say, GameWard, to sort of find anything in these team fights.
I think so as well. It's difficult for them to just look at it out of nowhere, and I think they need to understand the conditions.
I think they've got better engage options. I think it's fair to say, though.
I think so too, and I think it's easy for them to pull the trigger. That's what we talked about as well. But you want to be sure what you're pulling your trigger into, right? So far, they've had what they would isolated be good engages. The problem is just they're isolated. The team is not in a position to follow up, and they don't have the full information as to what they're walking in. In this Baron pit, they have no vision. They have no idea what champion is going to be there, and when you don't have that, it's going to be a little bit difficult to navigate.
Yeah, I think it's just so important to bring a highlight to just how much damage Shekolad can do from range here. You see that previous exchange there, WQ auto onto Schernfire means that 30% of his HP gets taken away there, and that's Schernfire. Like, Schernfire's got more of Malmortius. Imagine what he can do to a Zeri, for example. Like, he will just absolutely bully out of the fight. I feel like Oplon, and you see it there. Literally, look, you know, without the shield there, you see Cullen comes out. There's quite a bit of damage to Schernfire as well. And they're finding their poke, a little bit of return damage, a little nice little magic damage there.
The big one to get is if you can get Shekolad. He doesn't have cleanse. There's no Mikael's coming out from Camilleus as well. If you shut down Shekolad in a team fight, you straight up probably just win it.
Absolutely, but it's so key that Oplon can't show hesitation, because if you kind of flit in and out here, you will get poked out, and then that engage window just closes entirely. Bone plating is procced onto Zekor. Trying to find a little bit of damage. You can see they've set up a stronghold here with the Azir ultimate. Now that Mega Gnar's not going to be available, this is a window that's gone by rather quickly for Oplon.
Still going to be up for at least a Cloud Drake, if that was a point of contention. Zekor being gifted the blue buff, so he can stick around longer without having to worry about his mana bar, not having to look for a reset for this Drake coming in 40 seconds. But Oplon luckily in a position where, you know, they stole the first objective. And because of that, it's not quite Soul coming up right now for GameWard. It would only be Cloud, Soul Point.
Definitely would be that. And slow resistance. Gonna give them a little bit of help in terms of, you know, what Karma can put out. Obviously Narq as well a little bit. It's not the most beneficial dragon, but, you know, we've ragged on Cloud Dragon enough on this broadcast, Coolboard. We've made it very clear.
I hate it.
Well, I know
I'm just
you have
putting
like
that out there.
a personal dislike for it. Me, it's more
I
like
just get it every time when I'm ahead.
I don't
hate it
mind
so much.
him. Like, you know, when he comes to the workplace,
Get him
you know,
out of
like
my face.
yeah. Well, you just got a way more aggressive tone towards him, and you know, it's fair enough. I understand it completely. They're all going to be picking up this third dragon. It seems unlikely Oplon going to be able to get this contest off. Obviously, Peng going for that tier 1. More so trying to get that gold. But I also don't think that Oplon are going to be too unhappy about this. I think getting the first 2 dragons for them this game, enough.
It's a
for them
saving
so
grace.
far.
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
it was such a good proactivity coming out, finding their windows to take them, and of course a little bit of a mistake for GameWard initially when they gave up that first Drake in terms of the setup they had for it. But now, moving forward into this game, there's only Baron up for the next 5 minutes, and that's definitely going to make it a bit more of a intense affair, where it's going to be the battle for vision once again, but it's also going to be about the side lanes. I'm curious to see how much Dalek can really set out the pressure for his teams on towards the bottom side. The further of a pressure point he can be, the more space he buys for his team on the other end of the map.
Definitely the case there. See, he obviously has that teleport as well, able to get into the fight at a moment's notice. Quite a few defensive wards set up for Oplon, so there is potential, obviously, with that topside pro as well. You can invade from that. That's going to be getting taken away there from Melonic, but see Mount towards his side lane will need to be answered relatively soon. See Melonic's facing now.
Is in a position where he's looking. If he gets Chocolat here,
Oh, he's found it! Cleanse comes out from Inax. This is a massive engage here. Shone flies into the backline as well, trying to get taken out by Inax.
Oh, he got the stun!
Forward. They've got Chocolat. They get Inax as well. He's in stasis. This could be massive. Flash forward from Inax. Flash away. Not timed their abilities just there. It's massive from Inax that he gets away there. Oh, God, Oplon could have had the game there. If they've got Inax as well, it would have made the Baron, surely.
what a pickup from Twist, and what did they do with this now? 30 seconds on Chocolat. What can you get on the map? There's no Cloud Drake. Baron's the only objective up and available. No bot lane waves to play for either. That has just been cleared. You get the kill, but you need to replicate that fight again.
Absolutely, they need to replicate that because they've shown time and time again in this game if Twist can find these angles. So massive in terms of an individual performance from him. Able to kind of resurrect the game from the jaws of defeat. And now with no flash available, you talked about Chocolat being the one hard to find. Try Inax on for size. Doesn't have the stopwatch now, doesn't have the McKill, doesn't have any summoners. If Twist can find him with a flash, with an engage, which I'm sure he can, he's done it before. This could be a game that gets blown open by Oplon.
Yeah, it's their pressure point of attack right now. And I think as well, not having that Mikhail's yet on the support route, you can see opted in for a stopwatch, opted in now. I think the healing reduction is fair, but either way, it's going to be a long time. We might not even see that item in this game, and that creates a pressure for the solo laner of Chocolat. Of course, there's always an orange for Melonic. But Inax, as you said, definitely a pressure point of attack now.
Definitely. Obviously, now is the time to strike in regards to that. Obviously, he's building towards that Guardian Angel. Only can imagine only about 1,000 gold.
They're looking for Checo!
Into the wall! They found him! Chocolat goes down now. Twist has the ultimate available, has used the ultimate previously. Flash over the wall, and it's a 1-4-0. Massive engage off to the side there. Chocolat fully was safe in the haven of his own turret, but unfortunately not. But again, we have to ask the question, what can Oplon do with this time?
Well, this time around, there's no calling on the Lucian, no cannon barrage available. A lot of the ultimates has gone out the window. This buys you so much more confidence in terms of starting up this objective. Akabane, no flash, no heartbreak either. He have to physically walk into this pit. If they want to get the Baron, they'll have to fight for it.
Absolutely, but it's a 4v4 just now. Inax is waiting in anticipation of Twist being in this fight, but he can't wait too long. That Baron going very, very low now. 4k, Akabane. Does he fancy it? Doesn't have a way of getting into the pit, like you said, Gorborg. So this is just going to go the way of Oplon. They've got on the Baron, Gorborg, and they're taking this game all the way.
I'm sorry, are we casting Oplon? This is the Oplon, second last place team we have in the league. What is happening, Jake? The early game was stellar. They slopped a little bit in the mid game, but their late game now, pick on pick, they find Chocolat. What is happening? I need to take a breather.
You know, don't blink and you'll miss it here. It's the affair that is astounding all as Oplon are taking GameWard to a highly, highly competitive 30-minute match. And they're poised now with this Baron to kind of acquiesce and build forward from this gold lead. Not quite in the lead yet, still just 400 gold behind. No summon, no flash available for Inax just yet. And if they can find another miracle fight, they could look towards getting this game further and further in their control.
Aaron, oh my god, those lasers from Seiko as well. He's hit level 16. They can push in the mid lane. They don't even
Army ult's
have to
used.
care. Five breaks
Culling.
out.
Oh, Schönfire's into stasis. Redemption does come out. Shield is there. He's bought a lot of time. A lot of the initial burst has come out from GameWard. They haven't used up all the fuel in the tank. You have to imagine now, it should be the case that GameWard do get their hands on the soul.
Say that. He's coming out. Aaron empowered recall. They have to start it up immediately. Do they know he backed? Akabane, he's leashing it now. Oplon coming around from the right side. Twist on the flank.
Good Twist.
See how they play it out.
Twist, look at Twist. Hextech flash over the wall here. Q goes wide. He's going to find an ult any second now. Oh, it's a misfire from Twist. From a player that has looked so good on the engage here. He couldn't quite find the Q, and it's going to mean that Schönfire is close to death as well.
Red buff going over to Seiko. Extra healing coming through now as well. Over time, but there's so much range. Chocolate, the barrels, you can't go for this. They need to give it up.
Just give it.
Unless Schönfire can steal it. What's up that flash?
Schönfire might fancy his chances here.
Schönfire, he flashes. He steals it.
He gets it. Akabane
and he's out.
Schönfire. Oh my word, he's... In what universe do you go for that Schönfire? He fancies his chances. Takes the ultimate 50-50, gambles it on a coin. And they don't get the souls taken away from them. In what world do you take that, Coolbook?
I can't believe what we're witnessing right now. Oplon fighting back. I don't even care if they lose this game or not. Of course, this is just looking like an entire different team. Every single move they make, we always said it, they lack team cohesion. The individuals are there, but when they had to play as a team, they never really functioned. Throw that narrative out the window. Look at them now. They are performing so well in a late game against GameWard, where we said they are usually the team that never drops the ball.
Absolutely. You talked about how they get these leads and they hold on to them. It's only really down to just sheer outmaneuvering that they've lost some of their previous games, but they might be staring down just only their third team. And I think it's just, look at the metaphorical. Look at the metaphorical aspects of just the scoreboard at the top of their 2-9 versus 9-2. And that could be just flipped on its head here. It's the case that Oplon, Cannonball Barrage comes out, but it's not getting much effectiveness. So much of the shielding being granted by Oplon, and it's not really the case. The anti-heal is doing great, but there's no anti-shields available from Oplon, from GameWard. And Peng is doing so much to kind of dissuade some of the frontline engage that Oplon have. They're just able to wait out some of these key cooldowns, and now the next thing that's on the map that needs to be looked towards is that Baron. This could be one of the final fights of the game, Goldborg.
I think Camillus, I would really have loved to see him rush MBKLs here. Coming in, I can't help but think that he's giving his team less to play around with by going for, obviously you need the healing reduction a little bit, but you already had it on Chocolate too.
They've set up here in what is pretty much a classic death rush here. Really good foresight there. I believe it was Zekor there with the blue ward, spots that one out there. That could have been dangerous moving towards that Baron area. Good of them to notice, and just, they're not dropping the ball. They're not dropping the attention, it feels like, for Oplon. So many teams today have been in the lead and they've dropped the ball in terms of focus, and it's that small lapse of attention that ends up costing you. And I feel like Oplon, they're not doing that so far, Goldborg, and I hope they don't make me eat my words.
Oh, I mean, they're still not in the lead either. That's the thing, though. They're still at the deficit. Of course, it matters less in the late game when you finally filled out your items, but they're the one finding the place. They're not the one pushing out of the map. It's still GameWard pushing out. It's still GameWard with the pressure. Now with the reset time is finally coming through from GameWard. They're looking to retain control of their opponent's jungle. See if they can find a pick. And maybe, just maybe, one member of GameWard will be step into territory unknown to them.
Brave New World is the category for Oplon as they venture into a position we never would have foreseen. They're not staring down a late game comeback. They're staring down a game that has been back and forth since the beginning, I think it's fair to say. They haven't wormed their way back into it by miracles. They've obviously found some pretty lucky engages onto Chocolate continuously, but they've not fallen out of this game ever, I feel like. It's not ever been completely out of control for them. And that's a new Oplon, that's a new era for them. And they just really need to just not take their foot off the pedal now, because they need to cement themselves. Flash forward from Akabane, responded to Julie by Peng here.
Blue buff stolen.
Blue buff stolen from Zekor, going to give him a lot of staying power in these fights with that mana bar.
Twiz might be in a bad spot here, needs to be careful with the vision control. Does have that pink ward. This is where they found the fight earlier, finding Chocolate. Can do it again, it would be crucial. But speaking of Chocolate, 4 items on the Asir, 4 items on Melonic. 1 misstep from Oplon as well, and you'll be blown to pieces. It is so tricky to navigate these fights.
Absolutely, they are very much the ones with the trigger. The ones who are able to go at a moment's notice, but if they don't find that, if that engage goes awry, we saw it previously from Twist, if he can't find that, then he's just a sitting duck. So much damage is done, but the Baron has been started, Twist is in, that Baron's gone down so low, and once again, GameWard, they just walk away with it. Oplon caught sleeping.
Still a little bit, they're baited by the posture coming through from Camilius and Inax, and at the same time, Melonic with the long-range barrels, and Shekelat with the long-range damage, with Akabane just tanking it up, finds the moment. Still 20 seconds on the Cloud Soul. Giving over this Drake is not going to be game-defining, but it could be that neither of these teams wants to give up the momentum they currently have, and now with Oplon posturing aggressively on the map, he might try and look for a pick. Dalek almost mega.
Almost has the mega. Akabane is a little bit disjointed from the rest of the team now. Obviously doesn't have that flash from that previous exchange as well. Mega Gnar from Dalek. Twist isn't quite as far forward in this fight as you would have liked. Does have that flash available though. Akabane needs to act as that strong front line, prevent anyone from getting onto Inax. Inax, we've passed that point now, GameWard. We spoke about it when Inax gets to GA. He's going to be slightly more impervious in terms of the engage. Now it's the case of, can Twist blow up Camilius? For example, can they weather the storm? Can Zekor ramp up in these team fights? He gets off multiple W's, he gets up his speed. Shunfire steps a little bit too far forward. They're playing the mini game of barrels at the moment. How many fish in the barrels? How many can you shoot? How many targets? You see Twist goes off to the side here. Cannibal Barrage comes out, Shunfire caught out a little bit here. Gonna have to flash over the wall. He has to flash earlier there. He's taken down so low here. Dalek might
they're looking for
Twist here. Mantra Q, Twist. If you're gonna go, do it now.
He looks for
Checker has been found. Oh no, the stasis is primed. And he had to just be a bit more patient on that. Bad reaction time there from Twist.
Mid lane being pushed in, they have a mid lane wave available, but yes, that's a Cloud Soul going over to GameWard. That gives them a lot of movement speed to play around with. For Chocolate, for Inax, that's going to be crucial. They might even look now. Coming out of the base.
Absolutely, they will have caught somewhat off guard Oplon in terms of their resets after that. Went for the tier 2, gets a little bit more gold in their pocket. We're heading towards points where the gold lead starts to matter less and less. And in terms of just a straight up 5-on-5, it feels like to me, Cloud Soul was actually relatively, I think could have actually paid a lot of dividends for Oplon. I feel like with that Karma empowered, you would have given a lot of speed up in terms of Twist being able to find these engages. It would have given them a little bit more flexibility, a little bit malleability in terms of being able to find these engages, but I think GameWard being able to steal that away is more important.
Something that actually matters a decent bit now with the slow resistance is that if you get hit by the Mantra Q coming out from Karma, it actually barely affects you with the Cloud slow resist, and now extra movement speed after ulting. You can't be too unhappy about that.
Absolutely, I think really important to bring attention to there. Shekelad.
Dalek.
Dalek. Flash finds Shekelad all the way, Shurima Shuffle. And Twist is in big. Twist has got into the backline. They found Shekelad almost immediately. Twist is into the stasis. They need to find Camilius. Twist has got another kill here as well. Oplon. And Zekor is priming himself up here. They found 3 kills. Zekor's still going.
There's a flash
over the wall here. He's going to find Inax. Inax is into the Guardian Angel here. Has to find a very well-timed W here. Inax dashes away here. They find him as well. Dalek onto Akabane as well. Akabane has ult, has flash available as well. Ult's over the wall. Don't spend too much time chasing him. Go towards that inhibitor. You see Dalek is the one that's going to be stopping this recall out here. Big cooldowns in terms of timers on those.
Screw this, just look mid. It doesn't matter. There's 20 seconds on Chocolate. This is going to be enough. They have a minion wave to play around with. Dalek, he just needs to stall Akabane away from the play. There's still a big minion wave to come in. That's the inhibitor. They're going to move on towards the Nexus turret. It's Oplon.
Oplon onto the Nexus turrets now, answering for their 3rd win of the season. They're going to need to hit that Nexus. Hit it and hit it true here as Oplon. What an upset. They take their 3rd game of the season. They take one of the biggest upsets we've seen.